after the Iranian Revolution, Iran legal system was very progressive in a way to oppose a very strict Sharia law in the society. So at the beginning of at the end of the 70s, throughout of 80s, and beginning of the 90s, we had a very rigid system of morality police. At the time, it was called Comita, and the Comita's main job was to basically control all aspects of a society, in particular young people. Not too many surprise. Only women, but also men. I myself got arrested a number of times when I was a teenager, brought up in Iran, simply because I was wearing a T-shirt or tight clothes, or listening to so-called forbidden music. So that basically went on for about good 10-15 years, and it was a horrendous system. Was penalizing everyone, all aspects of especially as I said, the young people's life. It was relaxed since the committee was kind of dismantled into the new policing system. Now we have it as a police only Ruya Intizami. But then that part of the controlling hijab or morality hijab was always stayed within the system until some sort of like a 10-15 years ago, where the actual officially morality police was reestablished, and their job was to stay in some busy spots and streets of mainly the biggest cities, capital, and other cosmopolitan places, and just basically simply harassing women in particular, and sometimes men as well. But then mostly was the face of a discrimination was really to control the hijab, or the way women wear hijab. So this transition is just basically to come for years, and there's always been a resistance movement within the different generation of young people, not compliant to what the system would asking them. So for example, at the beginning of the revolution, women ought to wear chador or veil, but then it was relaxed down to some sort of a set clothes called mantu and sharwal. It was just a long dress with the trousers and a proper Islamic hijab. But then it was relaxed down to a headscarf, and then the headscarf was also loosened down by women, not wearing it properly, as the state call it. Women would lose hijab. And just basically went on. So the situation of hijab, it depends on where you come from in Iran. It is different. In some traditional societies are opposed by the actual society themselves, so the system doesn't really need to do much about it. In other big cities and cosmopolitan places, it is the system's job, sometimes, not all the time, to impose the hijab, but most of the time women do wear or not to wear hijab in closed places, in picnics and open door shopping malls and cinemas and places like this. But then everything was changed last year, since Gina or Masa Amini was died during the one of the sort of so-called usual morality arrest on the street, while she was transferred to one of these classes, as they call it, educational morality for women. She basically passed away, sadly, and then it just like so some months of a street protest, and this is where the women and with help of men came out of the streets and made the protest against hijab very publicly. And since then, we have more of women appearing in public sphere, not wearing hijab and not obeying to the system. So there is a continuation of a struggle, to be honest, but we have larger and more numbers of women coming out. Men are also helping out in this movement, but at the same time, the system tries to control, or I think the system wishes to go back to last year's situation, but I think it is too late. As they say, it is the genie out of the bottle, and women and men's are more aware of the basic right, which is simply to wear and not to wear what they like. For those who are aware of Iranian law and Iranian politics, they are in agreement. This is just not a scare tactic, to be honest. Most of this kind of rushed in revolutionary laws are never get implemented. There's just no way that you can get it implemented, and I I. I doubt there would be many number of women would be prosecuted and then sentenced to full 10 years. It is just there. And then there is an old saying in Iran says these kind of laws ought to be broken. So it is just a national joke. So the laws are there when and if it's needed. Just in order to remind the public there is actually a legal mechanism if they wants to turn into it. It would be crazy for the Iranian system to prosecute a young woman or women in particular, given 10 years for not wearing a hijab. And I I, it's, I wouldn't be surprised as an example of a one or two, but I don't think there would be um, a rationality from the system, or at least people would not take it, or would not accept it, and then it will strike another protest, or another reason to have a nationwide protest against such a tough laws. One of the points were made in this bill was like the intelligence services, the official intelligence services of Iran, um, and the military side of the intelligence are being asked to administrate and control and report on issues with hijab, and then especially to crack down on celebrities and those who promote not to wear hijab, or produce media contents. This is unprecedented, because normally intelligence services do not get involved with such things. I think the regime was nervous, to be honest, about what actually went on inside of Iran for the time when the protest was on its peak. It took about 2 or 3 months. Was one of the longest protests. Was the longest street protest in Iran. Not maybe not in many in terms of numbers, but then there was a protest literally in every town and cities in Iran. It was big in terms of a magnitude and size. Um, the state start taking control soon after they made a deal with Saudi Arabia, one of the fierce so-called regional enemy or rivals of Iran. So they made up. Now they are friends, and they are basically reopening embassies and so on. And to the protesters' bad luck, Iranians managed to secure a fair deal, or good deal to their point of view, obtaining billions of their blocked money from America, and then in exchange of five dual national prisoners. So and also the whole nuclear issue is beginning to kind of, the negotiation is restarting. And Iranians have gained quite a lot of confidence. Iranian government, confident in an international arena. So to the many protesters, I read the comment and commentators saying that what the Western society did start helping or supporting us when the so-called the revolution was on its highest point, but then soon after they changed their mind and they went their interest. And this is just a broad view of the Iranians over the West. They are just there for their own gain and benefits.